Hi, everybody. I'm so glad that you've joined us today. Megan and I have just been laughing and giggling.
We'll hopefully continue that.
That's absolutely right. My name is Nancy McKay. I'm a certified life coach, author, and speaker, and I'm so excited that you've joined us today on women and alcohol. And today, our guest is Meghann Conter. Meghann is the owner and chief laugh instigator of The Dames. The Dames is a membership-based community of high-powered women who own or lead rapidly growing businesses, 6 and 7-figure businesses across the world. Meghann received her BA in marketing and French from CU in 2001 and spent her junior year in France studying international business. Meghann is quit drinking close to 3 years ago, and without having to hit a rock bottom like I did. So I'm really interested to hear all about that. Also, we're going to be having adult conversation. We're going to be laughing and giggling a lot about it, but it is adult, and chances are very good, if you know me, that there will be some adult language as well. So if you have children in the room, now's a good time for earmuffs. All right. So Meghann, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so grateful.
I'm happy to be here, Nancy.
And so tell us a little bit about yourself and how you decided that you wanted to quit drinking or needed to quit drinking.
Absolutely. And just so that we have some audience participation, if you guys have any questions as I'm going through, any curiosities, please make sure you comment so that we can answer any of those questions. Or if you have any comments, we're open to hearing those for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for mentioning that.
Yes. So let's see. It looks like the video is buffering on your side. Hopefully, there it goes. Awesome. Okay. So where do I start? Let's see. I was raised in a really awesome house, in a really awesome family, and was well taken care of. I didn't have trauma when I was a kid. I had a strict household where I was required to follow the rules and, be a good kid. And I was also modeled very well. My parents didn't really drink a lot when I was growing up. At least I don't remember that. I remember my dad maybe having some hangovers every once in a while, but I didn't really know what that was. I just thought he was sick, right? So I was modeled well, which is good. However, when I went to college, I went a little overboard. And I think a lot of people do.
Yep.
And that's, I didn't really drink much in high school. But when I got to college, I made up for lost time.
Yeah.
And of course, going to CU Boulder, which is a big party school, there were a lot of kids that did the same. And so we were always in attendance at frat parties and, having parties when we had our own houses and just partying it up big time. And so I really became a professional binge drinker, and I would just party hard on the weekends, and then I'd rally for the week, and I'd, push hard during the week, and then I'd party again hard on the weekends.
Right.
And we were joking about, some funny stories. So I definitely thought when I was in my 20s that I had ankles made of titanium or something, because inevitably I would be drunk and running somewhere at some god awful hour of the night, and my ankles would give out. And so there's a family history of me breaking my feet or ankles like 4 summers in a row on the 4th of July. So by the time we got to the 5th time, my friends were like, "You're not going anywhere this 4th of July unless you are fully wrapped in bubble wrap or like one of those body condoms or something, because you just hurt yourself every time you go out on 4th of July. This is not okay. No more." So I didn't have a trophy of another boot for that 5th year in a row, which is good. I finally got rid of all those boots that I, had as trophies for all those years of breaking my feet. But not once did I ever think, oh, this is something that maybe I should consider stopping drinking. It never crossed my mind. It was just, family members thought it was cute. Friends thought it was funny, like, oh, it's just part of what happens. And friends would have similar things happen to them. And people get DUIs and people have all these other big issues that happen that are not acceptable, or that actually really are. I mean, if you really think about it, DUIs are just, oh, well, I'm dealing with a DUI. I'm just figure out how I can get around all the piss tests and how I can be able to drink again.
Right.
But what's really frustrating about that is that there's not real talk about binge drinking, except for when you see horrific things, right? Except for when you see stories on campus, or you see whatever, and then we start blaming whatever that person or circumstance or whatever, and not really looking at the fact that no, it's booze, and it's this thing that has been made legal and is poisoning us, and we're choosing to do this over and over and over again, and it's addictive. It's highly addictive. So fast forward past college, I continued my professional binge drinking into my 30s, and I worked at a bank, and so the bankers that I worked with had pretty much unlimited, what do you call them, expense accounts.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So we'd go out after work and, drink professionally. And I'm just giving you my drinking history. I don't know if that, because that's what we're talking about here. But I would go out and have a lot of fun. And I'm an extrovert. I'm a party goer. I was definitely always the life of the party. I'm the one who starts the party. I'm the one who shuts it down at the end. And I'm the one who entertains people all the way along with my tomfoolery and my stupidity and my just my general craziness. So I thought, oh yeah, I got to keep that going. So after my first few years professionally, when I just became even more of a professional drinker and thought, wow, this is what my professional life is going to look like. I hate what I do for work, and I'm just drinking with my coworkers because it's the socially acceptable thing to do, and it's what they're all doing.
Right.
And it wasn't until I stopped. So it wasn't until I got laid off from my last job in the recession and started my own business that I even realized how miserable I was in corporate. But that, thankfully, was a time in 2009 where I met several entrepreneurs who suggested I start my own business. And for the first time in my professional life, I felt like as soon as I did that, I felt like I was in the right place. Like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to run my own business. I'm supposed to be my own boss. But I continued drinking. I continued partying. I continued, hanging out with people in that way. Networking, of course, became part of my regular repertoire. So I like to joke, like I would network 7 days a week. And if I wasn't drunk, I was hyped up on caffeine from the coffee that I was drinking to wake myself up after 2 or 3 glasses of wine the night before. So so as the years went on, I progressively could handle my alcohol less, that's for sure. So it wasn't 7 days a week that I could drink, or even 5 or even 4. But as I got older and as my career progressed, I started noticing things, and of course, paying a little bit more attention to my body and noticing how I couldn't handle as much.
Yeah.
And that hangovers were way more costly and way more painful. And that, a Saturday and a Sunday spent hungover was crappy.
Yeah.
So it continued, kept going until I started the Dames. And then as I kept growing the Dames, we were a small Denver-based organization called Denver Dames in the beginning, with just in-person events here. And we kept growing and growing and outgrowing our venues. And of course, like, wine was a big theme of the events. And, it was just part of what you do when you're hanging out with other high-performing women in business, of course.
Sure.
And so in 2017 was when I really started having, throughout all of this period of time, let's say starting at about 2012, I started on my spiritual journey as well. And so I learned a lot about meditation and about intuition and about connecting to my higher self and getting messages. And I was able to get downloads very easily from what I call my higher self, and started seeing the future and started seeing where I could take the Dames, and started envisioning this rebrand and an international community of members, and just seeing these big things. And so I built it and I put in the work to really create the infrastructure and do everything that we needed. And it was all the while about 2017 or so, I was starting to notice how much even more alcohol was affecting me. And so I was waking up on a Monday morning after a weekend of drinking with friends and friends, and noticing how depressed I was and noticing how tired I was, and really feeling like I had to take the rest of like the beginning of the week to kind of come back online before I felt like I was fully energized and ready to go again. And this is at the height of the time when I'm still working in my marketing business, full-fledged, running a 6-figure marketing business and growing the Dames. And so I got to this point where I was, exhausted all the time. My husband and I were fighting nonstop because the two of us were drinking, and we'd get heated and we'd start yelling at each other and just argue about everything. And again, nobody around me told me, you might want to look at the alcohol. No doctors, no acupuncturists, no holistic people, no Western medicine people. I would tell them, I would be very forthright and honest, until one day I went to the doctor and had my physical, and my doctor said, or the nurse asked me ahead of time, how much do you drink? And I said, I probably drank 3 drinks in a 24-hour period or something. Or what was the question was, what's the most you drink? Okay. And I lied. And I said 3 drinks in a 24-hour period. Because I was like, that still sounds pretty reasonable. Even though on a binge night, I could knock back a significant amount more than that.
Right.
And the doctor came in and she said, we need to talk about your drinking. You're entering into a problematic zone. And I was like, really? Because of 3 drinks in a 24-hour period? And she said, yeah, any more than 1 for a woman, you start getting into the problem zone. You're only supposed to have 1 every 24 hours. I'm like, wow. Oh,
golly.
Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm way off of that. Oh. We got some work to do. So that was really, but it still didn't fully hit me. I did start going through periods of quitting drinking for like 3 months, 6 months, 4 months, but there was always something that was coming up, like a party that was coming up, or a trip, or, whatever was coming up that I needed to go back to drinking for. Right. And that was what screwed me over, was that I would go back and then I'd start out well and meaning well, like I'm going to moderate, and I wouldn't drink on the weekdays, but then I'd start drinking on the weekends again. And then I'd drink more on the weekends. And it was never a moderated dance. Right. And from what I've learned since, it's very difficult to moderate your drinking. Now, if you're just someone who is always moderated, and you're the kind of person like my mom who has 1 glass of wine and she's red in the face and she's like, yay, giddy, like she's the funniest person on earth. It's different, because then she stops, she's done. Right. She's like, she has her happy glow and that's it. But that is not common. Not at least in my family, not at least in my friends. That is not common. And most women that I know don't moderate like that. So when they say, oh, just moderate, I find that that's way more difficult for most. And I think you'd probably say the same thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So at that point, I was really getting really clear on what my big picture vision was. And to the point where I noticed that if I was drinking, I wasn't able to tap into my intuition. I wasn't able to meditate. I was having a really hard time getting those messages. So I would quit for periods of time and I'd get those downloads again. And that's when I got the download to create our international membership and build all the infrastructure. So I started doing that. And I noticed that as I was doing all this work and gearing up for completely blowing my business up, like in a good way, not blowing it up, but catapulting, I realized that this big thing for me called alcohol was in the way. And it was just this giant block that was going to continue to be a barrier, or I was going to continue to trip over it over and over and over again. And if I was going to achieve this international vision that I had to quit drinking. So that was what was kind of going on in my head. But I kept drinking. And so I got to a point where it's October 31st. Oh man, 2017. Is that right? Yeah. October 31st, 2017. It's Halloween. I'm with my cousin, dressed up. I'm standing on a rooftop bar. It's midnight. I'm in my late 30s and I'm standing in a skimpy outfit on the rooftop of a bar. I think I'm a little old for this. Why am I doing the same thing that I was doing when I was 22 years old? Took a sip of the vodka soda that I had bought, and it tasted like dirt. And I was like, huh.
Interesting.
Interesting. I took the drink, I handed it to my friend, and I said, I don't want this. I'm out of here. And I said bye to everybody. I left, and that was the last drink I ever had.
Wow.
It took whatever interference, I would say, that the universe got involved.
Yep.
To finally give me a physiological response to drinking that finally helped me realize, okay, I just got to quit this shit for good. For good.
Yeah.
And I didn't know at that time if it was going to be for good. I didn't know if it was going to be for another 6 months or whatever. But I remember going to a Sober AF meeting here. Jolene Park started that group years ago, and sitting down next to someone, and she asked me what my story was with alcohol, and I told her, and she's like, so did you quit for good or what? And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know. And she told me about Annie Grace, who was sitting across the room from me.
Oh, wow.
And said, Annie just published a book. You might want to read it. And so I met Annie and I bought her book and I read it and I never looked back. That was what I needed to unravel everything for myself. And it did its job and it did it well. And I've been on a health crusade ever since. So that was the longest story, but I really felt like some of those details in there are what a lot of my friends experience, and a lot of other women who try to quit, they experience those things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's a great story and a great lead in. And, I think the thing that strikes me is that, our stories are different, but there's a lot of similarities. I mean, I drank the same way you did. We were pretty much weekend warriors for the most part until, the last several years. And it's stunning that you were able to, and this comes into your being so aware in your body and your intuition, that you were able to see that you weren't getting those messages when you drank, and you did when you didn't. And
yep.
And that's huge, because I was seeking those messages, but I wasn't able to get any because of this veil of alcohol, that I was covered in. And,
fog. There's a really heavy fog. I like to think of it as like a cheesecloth over your face that's super wet while you're trying to run in 102-degree weather with 98% humidity.
Exactly. And it wasn't until I quit, I never quit for a few months and then started again. I mean, when I quit. And that's when, I started becoming aware of how heavy that gauze, that cheesecloth was.
Yeah.
And it's just that's an incredible metaphor. It's really very accurate.
Yeah. And I see that we have some people commenting. So if you guys have any questions for us, please be free. We are watching you. We see you.
Yes. So this is interesting. My friend Elizabeth knows your friend Jeanette, which is,
oh, look at that.
Isn't that fun? So
perfect.
Yeah. So yes, if you guys have any questions, be sure to type them in, and we'll answer those for you. So, so what kind of support system did you have?
Yeah, so at the time I had met Jolene Park, who is the founder of Healthy Discoveries, and she also is. She wouldn't say she's the creator of the gray area movement because she isn't, but she would. I would definitely say she brought it to Denver. There's no doubt about that. And Jolene was someone who I've known for a long time. We've had mutual friends, and we used to go out and, drink together. And neither one of us ever thought that either one had a big problem. And, there were plenty of times when I would go out and just have 2 drinks, and then I would make my way home. And then there were plenty of times when I had more than that. But Jolene was one of those who really inspired me because she said, I didn't have to have a drop dead, rock bottom moment. I just quit drinking. And now I'm on this crusade to bring more women with me who were gray area drinkers, who were not ever diagnosed as alcoholics, who don't have to go to AA to quit, who, don't feel that, or all that stuff. So she was someone who was a great role model for me. And reading Annie Grace's book was huge. I just felt like I was seeing myself in it, and that I was seen and heard through that. And, what's funny is I felt like I had to come out to my family and my friends that I was going to be a non-drinker. And I remember how nervous I was telling certain friends that I was quitting drinking, and like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my friends. I'm going to lose my community. I'm going to lose all this stuff because nobody's going to hang out with me, and I'm going to be too boring, and I'm not going to be fun anymore. And, all the bullshit that was running through my head constantly.
Right.
And finally I told my friends, and there were a couple of them who were like, really? Seriously? You're going to quit entirely? Like, don't you want to think that over? And I'm like, no, I don't want to think it over. I've thought it over. Yeah. But there were plenty of friends who were like, this is great for you. Like, we are totally on board. And, so there was that. And the support that I had to give myself was removing myself from the bar scene, removing myself from going out, removing myself from house parties, removing myself from all the things that I used to do for a good 6 to 8 months, because I had to figure out who I was again and what my identity was without alcohol. And I also have to say, thank God my husband had quit a month before me, because I have friends who, they know who they are, who are doing a kick-ass job because their husbands or partners continue to drink and they have quit. And that's an even harder road. So I give them mad props, because that's not easy. But thankfully my husband quit. And so both of us then could start working on our relationship and on on everything. And both of us then, from that point, our businesses took off because we were no longer stuck. We were totally in choice.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's really exciting. So have you had any difficulties? I mean, do you have cravings? Have you had cravings? Do you have drunk dreams?
I haven't for a long time. My husband has drunk dreams. He tells me about those. Mm-hmm. I had a hard time for the first year, for sure. The first year was way hard. It was very difficult. Mm-hmm. I finally am hanging out with friends that I didn't hang out with for a good year and a half, because I just couldn't be around it too much. I still to this day have no desire to go to Oktoberfest up in Breckenridge or anything like that, because why? What the hell am I going to do?
Right.
A, I'm alcohol free. B, I'm dairy free. C, I'm gluten free. D, I'm refined sugar free. And F, now I'm also caffeine free. So I'm just fucking everything free at this point. I'm everything free. So I just breathe air. I'm a breatharian.
That's great. I love it.
Just kidding. But yeah, I removed myself from a lot of things and changed my social life and changed the things that I do. And I mean, it's difficult to be successful in your business if you're still acting like you were when you're 20 or 30. I think
that's
in my world.
That's really very good advice. And so was alcohol the most difficult thing that you've eliminated?
By far.
Okay.
Absolutely. As soon as I gave up alcohol, there was no need for late night cravings of cheese sticks and chicken fingers and pizza and all the other crap. So that was a lot easier. So I quit gluten and dairy pretty much not right off the bat, but pretty close to after I quit drinking. And those two things kind of went hand in hand. But yeah, it was just, for me, it was the social change that was the hardest. I don't think that I necessarily had as many like body cravings as that social tendency of like, I walk into a house or a party and somebody hands me a glass of wine. That still happens to this day.
Yeah.
Until they're like, oh, whoa, sorry. Or I just walk in with my case of sparkling water and nobody asks. But it's, that social aspect. Say what?
You want ice with that?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's all right. I'll just drink it out of the can. I'm hardcore like that.
So, tell our viewers where they can find you and connect with you if they'd like to, and all that stuff.
Yeah. So you were a little garbled there, but I think you said tell everybody where to connect with me. So
yes. Sorry.
What I'll say is I love telling my story and I love talking about it on Instagram and on Facebook occasionally, because it's inevitable that I share my story and someone comes to me and says, I've had a really difficult time with this. Thank you for sharing. And they ask me questions. Just the other day, I referred someone to Jolene because she's a coach that you can work with. And I've referred people to you now. I just referred someone to you the other day, actually, too.
Thank you.
And it's just because I tell my story and because I'm not afraid to. And I'm not afraid to share who I've been because it's made me who I am. And I don't wish to correct my past. So with all of that to say, if you ever have a question or you just are considering quitting and you just want to talk to somebody who has been there, done that, and have some advice in terms of who to talk to, who to read, whose books to read, please come my way. And I would be more than happy to pass you over to Nancy. But also tell you some of those books and really my experiences. So you can connect with me using my name. I'm on every social media platform. And also, if you are a high-performing woman in business anywhere around the globe and you'd love a community of other badass women like yourself to be part of, check out thedames.co.
Awesome. Okay, it's time for rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Did you get that? Am I garbled?
Yeah, I got rapid fire questions.
Okay. What's your favorite food?
Now it would probably be vegan. What's my favorite meal that my husband, he just made this delicious mushroom risotto the other night.
Ooh, there you go. That sounds good
stuff. Or raw avocado boats are another one of my favorites.
Yep. Okay. What's your favorite book?
Favorite book is either, oh man, there's so many good ones. The Untethered Soul. That's my favorite.
Nice.
Michael Singer.
Yep. Wonderful. Okay. What's your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
You're my kind of gal.
It's just like Smurf. You can use it in every single way possible. Every noun, adverb, adjective, smurfing, smurf a lot, smurfalicious. Just put fuck in there and you have a lot more fun.
That's right.
That's true.
Right. That's right. Well, Meghann, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and the laughs, and it's been a great conversation.
Absolutely. This was super fun.
Yeah, I sure appreciate it. You have a great evening, and we'll talk soon.
Where can everyone find you?
Oh, well, yes. You can find me, whoops, there it is, on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn. Amazing Outlook Coaching is my business, so you can find me there. Email me at Nancy at Amazing Outlook Coaching. And yeah, if anybody has any questions,
and your specialty is in helping women who want to quit drinking, right?
want to quit drinking.
Get through that.
Quit drinking and start living.
Dang straight. And I highly recommend that you work with someone like Nancy when you're going through these kinds of questioning phases, because she can help you evaluate the decision for yourself.
Right. And it is a decision, and a lot goes into it. And, you know, when I quit drinking, it was, you know, I knew it had to be done. And, but I wish that I had somebody like me that I could talk to a lot sooner than I did, because I wouldn't have had to hit my rock bottom. And
absolutely.
So
remember that you don't have to hit a rock bottom.
You do not. Absolutely not. So
and we don't recommend it.
No, no, it's not.
I'm glad I didn't shatter my ankle anymore.
Yeah. And I'm glad I didn't shoot myself. So
yeah.
Yep.
A lot worse things out there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right.
Thank you, Nancy.
So much. Sure appreciate it. And have a great evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Bye.